And we are going live on YouTube now. Looks good, looks good. And let me check my Facebook. Facebook is going green too. This is good. Oh, it's perfect, perfect, perfect. And oh, it's perfect. All right. All right, looks good. Looks like we're good on YouTube. We're good on Facebook, and we are good on Periscope. All right, people. Gotta get a little fancy. That's right. Hey, everybody, how you doing? I just want to make sure that you can hear us live. Everyone can hear us on all platforms. Let me use YouTube as a test. Hey, YouTube people, if you can hear me, let me get some love. Can you hear me and my guest? Hey, guest, could you say hello?
Hello, everyone.
And it's a little buffer. Good morning, good morning. Everybody saying good morning.
All right.
And let me get a response from the YouTube peoples. Feeling great, feeling great. Catherine, can you hear us, Catherine or Brett James? Oh, they got hashtag stand with Charlie's Peach. Get up for that.
I love that. Thank you.
Marvin C says he can hear us. All right, guys. Perfect. Let's get into this. My name is Tim Black. Thank you for being here today. We have a special guest in the house, a friend of mine that I met on Twitter I've been like a year and a half ago. We had great conversations, very helpful. We have the same fighting spirit, and she's going through a little controversy. We want to jump into that. Your friend and mine, Politics Peach, y'all. Give it up for Politics Peach.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My sister. Wow, look, I'm glad to see that you're alive and well. I thought you were trapped in a Russian cell somewhere.
Well, I mean, being a Russian bot is kind of hard to come out of that that space that I was in. I'm glad that I was able to evolve.
Right. This is crazy, man. Yeah. What they do to you, Charlie? What is going on? They called you a Russian bot. They kicked you off Twitter.
Completely suspended, unable to apply for even a new Twitter account if I even chose to. Well, I can if I go outside of my home because my IP address is completely shut down. But once I found out that I was suspended because of supposedly being a part of that Russian bot thing a couple of weeks ago, last month, I was infuriated. I'm thinking, how is this even possible? It's targeted harassment and it's actually suppressing of free speech. Twitter's only response to me after repeatedly asking them why was initially that, or has been that, because of targeted harassment on my part. And I'm asking, well, who have I harassed? I mean, there are so many people out there that have came at me on many times and harassed me, and they're still standing, and they do it on a daily basis to others. Anybody who's a progressive, we're constantly being attacked, trolled, what have you. But I'm being silenced and shut down as some part of some big conspiracy of being a Russian bot because I'm somehow a Black woman who chooses not to run, in cohort with the Clinton campaign, or the Hillary Clintons or the Democratic establishment.
Right.
And I want to make it really clear. I am not a Republican. I have never voted for a Republican, and I probably will never vote for a Republican unless I find one that actually does or stand for some things that I believe in. But that does not mean that because I'm not one of those that I'm going to rally behind the Democratic Party. So that is where people are getting this mixed up at. I'm trying to make it clear. You look at, I see so many tweets of people saying, why are the alt-right still allowed to be on Twitter? Why is this happening? It's just like the Democratic Party and the GOP. They're both fueled by two factions. One, the racism and oppression and issues that happen on the left. And the alt-rights, cross burning, crap that you see on the right. They need those fueling entities for both parties to survive. It's the same way with Twitter and this whole corporate entity that it's become. They don't want voices like ours because we expose the hypocrisy of both parties. They need to see the alt-right over there showing, clowning and throwing, fire and tiki torches or whatever. And they need to see us over here infuriated and upset because we're constantly being abused. Those two entities that get together on social media at any time is a win for them. And that's what they want to see. But the moment we try to open up those people's eyes to see that this is a game being played by both parties against all of us, that we are the pawns in this whole, system, then there's a problem. And that's where I've been, where I have ran afoul with Twitter and why I have such a problem with this whole thing.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with that, Charlie, I do. And I just want to slow down for a minute and just like, when did you realize that you were banned? Like, what was that process? Because a lot of people have been asking me, like, what happened? Because they know you used to go in, you know what I mean? And a fighter big time for what you believe. So when did you realize it? Did anything precipitate them banning you?
I've been shadow banned for over 1.5 years now. And some people on Twitter probably don't understand what that means. If you don't kind of look it up, it's a little bit more complicated to express, or in detail. But basically, Twitter chooses certain accounts that they don't want their messages to be broadly, pushed out. They'll block it to where it only can go to so many people. So my account has been shadow banned like that. It was also set to where I could never go past 13,000 followers. It would never get past that. I would be like in a little space between 13 and 14. I know for a fact that I had way more than that. And I was always, people were being kicked off my account. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff going on that didn't make sense. But over the last 6 months, I noticed that I would get little temporary suspensions. Like I may get a message where your account is being temporarily suspended for 12 hours. Your people, only the people that follow you can see your message. You can still tweet, but your message won't go out beyond that. And this was happening a lot. And then on September 16th, I think it was, I'm in the middle of a conversation and I'm all of a sudden, like I said in my if you want to find me on medium.com, whatever, an article I wrote, it was like I was in some type of abyss where I could see people saying, "Where's Charlie Peach?" And I'm sitting there like, "I'm right here. What's going on?" And I was still able to tweet for that moment. And then a few seconds later, it said, "Oh no, you're suspended." But even now, if you add me at Politics Peach, I can still get your tweets. If I'm on my computer, I can still go into Twitter and I'll still see all your tweets, everything you're saying to me. I can still surf Twitter. I just cannot respond to anybody. I don't get any notifications other than, I don't have a TL. My timeline doesn't change, but my notifications will change. But the other insulting part about all this is that ever since like about a week later, or a few days later after I was suspended, an account came up on Twitter called @PoliticsPeach_. So make sure you guys out there, look at that account. And everybody I know at least 50 or more people have reported to Twitter that this is a bot account. This account has a troll account of me, has my bio, my picture, pretending to be me. And I'm basically going, it's like mocking people that follow me. He'll tweet. He just tweeted one of my close friends and followers at Indy on Twitter earlier this week and said, "Hello." I mean, just mocking, kind of like mocking me,
Right.
And, but Twitter won't do anything about it. But that's one of their policies, that if you cannot, basically, pretend to be someone. You can say you're a parody account and you can make a spoof of someone's account, but you cannot be somebody else on Twitter and pretend to be someone else. And this is happening, but they have refused repeatedly to even take it down. And most people are saying they're not even getting the response from Twitter other than the usual canned response that you get when you first report something. Right. They'll get that message back, but no follow-up.
So someone's impersonating you right now on Twitter. That person's, I remember when they did that, and I remember jumping in that thread telling people that ain't the real thing. I don't know who that is, right? So, and you're right. That's supposed to be against their terms of service, the whole impersonation thing. And you tried to get verified. So it's not like Twitter doesn't know who you are.
Exactly. Right? And correction, I with verification process, they want you to have their email address, your phone number, your driver's license, or some type of proof of who you are, citizenry, ID. I sent all that in along with a whole lot of other information to say this is who I am and blah, blah, blah. I even changed my information on the front because when I first came on Twitter, I had all my information out there until I started being trolled a lot. And then I said, okay, let me back off on this because this is becoming to be a little too personal and threatening. And actually, I had at one point had to get the FBI involved because of some alt-right people that used to, I think back then it was T-Cot and these guys used to do all this crazy stuff on Twitter. And I was getting all these threatening, tweets to me. And they finally shut this particular guy down. I don't remember his handle per se, but he was big on the T-Cot side. But they pick and choose who they want or allowing to have an opportunity for a voice, and that's really kind of bad. Even if it's, I even disagree with the Roger Stone ban. I don't care for this guy or what he stands for, the things he says. But freedom of speech is freedom of speech. We don't have to like it. We just don't have to listen to it. Just choose not to listen to it. If you don't agree with someone, you don't have to listen to what they have to say.
Right.
But to shut everyone down that you don't agree with, or to allow at this point Twitter and Facebook and Google and all these entities to become a silo for corporate, agendas and two-party agendas, that's a problem.
You're damn right. Yes.
It really is. And then, the whole thing, I told people, I warned everybody over a year ago, I said, when this fake news started coming out, I said, you better be ready. This is a plan to shut down free speech and the avenues of free speech that we've had over the last 8 years. Twitter, and specifically, brought in a whole new genre over the past 8 years of us being able to talk to all the people, our friends and people we didn't know, people that we had never met, countries we hadn't seen. We were able to see into what was really happening in their lives instead of having to rely on propaganda from Fox, MSNBC, and CNN. And they want that shut down. And people are sitting here willingly going along with this. And people on the right, the left, especially my friends who I still somewhat consider friends on the Democratic Party side, how you're so blinded by party loyalty that you can't see that this is wrong. Some things should be beyond that. I wasn't born a Democrat. I'm a Black woman. I'm a human being. Those things for me are anything that I was against the Patriot Act when Bush did it. I was against drones when Bush did it. I was against No Child Left Behind when Bush did it. And I was against those when Obama did it. My party affiliation and my moral beliefs are two different things. If you go afoul of that, then we got a problem. I'm no longer supporting what you stand for because you have changed what your initial or my path was, or what you said you stood for. But just because you have put a D on your name doesn't mean I'm gonna stand with you. And you cannot do the same things that the people on the right are doing, and then say, hey, it's okay now. You can't sell more weapons than any country than any president before you. You can't ignore my people in the hood and call them thugs, and then say if the best thing you ever seen in life was when white folks were rioting in D.C. for Hillary Clinton. You can't do that and think I'm gonna stand for you. It's just not who I am. And if people don't like that, that's on them. I'm not gonna change me. I've had people say, well, why were you on Russian TV? Because Russian TV reached out to me, and I'm gonna make sure that I got my voice out there.
Absolutely.
MSNBC didn't reach out to me. CNN didn't reach out to me. Chris Cuomo was one of the people that followed me on Twitter. He has 1 million+ followers. I was one of the few people he followed.
There you go.
On Twitter. So, but these people aren't reaching out to me. They're not gonna go against who they stand for, and I'm not gonna be tricked into some conversation with someone to try to twist who I stand for. Right. Now back to what we were talking to earlier about. I had a friend reached out to me last night, and I'm gonna let you interject in a few seconds. Sorry, but I had a friend. I've been wanting to get this out for a minute too.
Right, bear with her, y'all. She got a lot to say, man.
Oh my gosh,
this Russian label stuff is horrible stuff, man.
It has real world consequences, and it's not funny. It's not. Someone says, "Oh, well, why don't you just get over it? It's just Twitter." Why don't you get over when you go to an airport and you get harassed and you stopped and you put in handcuffs or you pulled in the back? This is not a game. You cannot call. People have went to prison for stuff like that. Most people don't understand what McCarthyism is. I would suggest that somebody pick up a book. Get off the internet beyond Facebook tweeting and all this other stuff you're doing and do some research on what this stuff is about.
Right.
This is really not. This is serious. And then when you got and mascot Maxine Waters, and I'm gonna call it mascot Maxine, with this Trump 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
But where's the policy for our people?
Yep.
Where are you standing on that? Where were you when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for the last year, and it didn't become an issue until Trump opened his mouth?
Yep.
And it's not an issue now because it became about Trump. It didn't become about what he was kneeling for. His name was his picture was completely erased off of Sports Illustrated magazine, as though LeBron James and Stephen Curry were the ones who started this stuff. No disrespect to those guys, because I think they have spoke their piece and stood beside him, except through this whole ordeal, or at least recently anyway. But
yeah, better late than never, Charlie. But yeah, I feel exactly what you mean.
Anyway. Yeah. But with the Maxine thing, I just understand. I have a problem with that. Where are policies for our people? Look at her community. Look at her district. Look at the poverty that's happening in her own district.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so but she's the mascot now. She's a mascot for white women, for feminism, and all this other crap that's doing nothing for us. None of that is helping what's going on, the gentrification that Democrats are allowing in our communities. That's the only time you see them, gentrifying us or voting when it's time to vote. This past weekend when Nina Turner and all of them were at, my sister Nina Turner, let me give her that respect, was in the women's conference in Detroit. Hillary Clinton and none of those big labor white women wouldn't show up, but they raised and saying because Bernie Sanders was initially on the platform to speak. But where was your golden ticket at? Where was she at? She was partying in New York with Tony Podesta for her birthday. I mean, it's a fact. Seriously. So why weren't you asking where was she? Why did she choose not to be there? Why wasn't Warren there? Why wasn't Pelosi? Why weren't these folks there speaking? All these women, white women that love black folks so much during the election. Guess what? Because they don't need you now. The election is over. She lost. They moving on to another platform. They'll come back and get you though. Yeah. If that convention was held during the election, every one of them would have been there, front and center. Hillary was the keynote speaker. But you mad because Bernie was given an opportunity to speak. I've never seen anything like it. I sit there and I watch these Twitter feeds and I'm thinking, this is literally outrageous. And you're talking about harassment, and I'm gonna call her name out. Deborah Messing should have been kicked off Twitter. Should have been kicked off Twitter a long time ago. The type of harassment she did to Susan Sarandon, Nina Turner, and she still does those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. The craziness that goes on with these people who have an issue with someone who does not cater or fall down for the Democratic Party.
Why does it seem, Charlie, that us black folks, we really catch it, man, when we speak against these neoliberals? Because I don't know what it is. It happened to me a couple of days ago when they're attending. And who comes in jumping in after, like, my whole issue with her was she's retweeting someone who's mm-hmm. doing exactly what you pointed out. He's mm-hmm. labeling anyone who doesn't go along with DNC or with Hillary mm-hmm. a Russian bot. Mm-hmm. So my tweet to her was like, look, stop retweeting this guy. This guy's horrible. Mm-hmm. And you guys labeling us like this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. And her response was, to defend him and to keep coming back. So, mm-hmm. hey, look, Charlie, I let her have it. Good.
I saw some of it. I loved it.
All right. So a couple, this guy, I don't even want to give him any shine, but someone who you wouldn't know about him because he only has like 7,000 followers. Mm-hmm. He's not that big is what I mean. Mm-hmm. But he gets retweeted a lot. Excuse me. He gets retweeted a lot by like Nira Tanden, A.M. Joy may retweet him. Mm-hmm. And his thing was, well, there you go again, Tim Black, always jumping on women of color, always jumping on women of color for this and women of color for that. Look, it's not about the color or mm-hmm. the gender of the person. Mm-hmm. It's her politics I can't stand. You understand what I'm saying? And it's always a black guy. They send him out to come at me on the misogynist tip. When mm-hmm. I support women, I just don't support this woman. There is a difference. Is that something that you've experienced?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I really feel like white women and the neoliberals have bastardized feminism and racism till it's just almost, in the term woke and all this other stuff. It's so watered down and insulting now that it almost has no weight when they say something because it's being used to promote their agendas in the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Everyone is always, you can't be a black woman, or you can't be, you can't be this, or you're trying to talk about anytime you open your mouth about somebody. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I cannot be corrected. Doesn't mean that I can't be wrong. My quote unquote vagina does not give me a pass to say and do whatever I want to do to other people. My skin color, but they're using that. But they won't fight for us on things that are tangible, that mean something. They'll tear down a statue, but guess what? I didn't see nobody protesting about Black Panthers not getting their statue. Mm. I didn't see the Democratic Party last week raising hell saying, or even mascot Maxine, why can't the Black Panther Party have a statue? They're not going to do these things for us. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily should have occurred one way or the other, but I'm just saying they're not going to do anything that's tangible to bring about substantive change for Black people ever. It's a fact. They will use us for whatever they can. They pretend that it's, that they're all in favor of us. So, something goes on like they, with this whole thing with Jemele Hill. Oh, it was just horrible. But where have you been on things, or even with Rose McGowan? I hear she's got an arrest warrant out now. When has a Black woman or a Black person had an arrest warrant issued in January, February, and you still walking around free? I mean, really? I'm serious. I'm being real serious. So white privilege is real. So they can, on both sides, on both sides of the aisle. So it's not even about a party thing. It's about getting a pass to be and do whatever you want to do. And white women want us to believe that they are oppressed. I'm done with it. And they want to use Black women as a barrier for their oppression, but they're not doing anything for us. They bash us and talk about, it's our fault that Hillary didn't win. Well, last I checked, y'all didn't vote for Hillary. Right. You all went and voted for Trump. And then Hillary says, well, they were being told by their husband. What husband do you know can go in the ballot box with you and make you a punch? Really? Who stands in a booth or wherever you're standing at? Is there somebody in there forcing you to vote for somebody? No one knows who you vote for. That's a conscious choice that you make.
It's intellectually dishonest is what it is, Charlie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I see it as they just want to co-opt Black people for their movements, for just for the sheer numbers, and also to be sanctimonious. Like this guy Tom Watson, who no one should really know him. Like
he's terrible. I've seen him.
No one should know who this guy is, but he gets retweeted by these folks. And his claim to fame is a tweet that he made where he got 1,000 retweets, and guess what he used? Black people to do it. Oh, I feel so bad about Black people getting police brutality. But when I challenge him to stop labeling people like me as Russian bots because we disagree with Hillary, he goes into bash mode.
Right.
So I'm fine to use as a prop.
But she comes off.
Right. Exactly. I'm fine to use as a prop. They'll use you, Charlie, as a prop. But when you push back, now you're a Russian bot. Now you are a Trump supporter. That's the new thing, Exactly. Anytime you disagree, you're a Trump supporter.
Exactly. Or you're not real, because Black people cannot be against Hillary Clinton, a Democratic Party. There is no way that we should be happy that mass incarceration has destroyed our communities. We should be happy that Black men have been put in a position, our Black boys and even our young girls, pipelines of prison, Black boys in LA or California are on the worst reading level across the country ever. But we got mascot Maxine, all these folks talking about what Trump's doing rather than what's going on to help our people. We should be happy with all these things. There's no way I should be upset about it. I should be fine that Hillary has made money off of private prisons and calling our young boys super predators. She apologized.
Well,
really?
You know what, Charlie? I would be so upset about Maxine being wrong if I was allowed to challenge her without being labeled as a woman hater, a sexist, or and heck, maybe they don't label me as racist, but they call you a coon or what have you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
she's saying now, from my understanding, that she had Russian bots after her. I don't know who they were. Maybe she's talking about me too. So they were trying to take her down. I used to respect her, and since I'm talking about her, I brought her up, and really loved what she stood for back in the day with Rodney King, et cetera. Matter of fact, even when Obama was in office initially, when he first came in office, Maxine took a lot of heat because she challenged him. And Black folk would, no, don't you talk about my president, yada, yada. So she started backing down. She even did a video. There's a video out there somewhere, I've seen it, or her talking about that. And then, but then she got in all this trouble with her financial issues and her family issues and illegal things that she was doing, supposedly. Okay, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know. But anyway, and somehow they allowed that to go away, and then she became this big mascot. So you have to wonder, do those two have any kind of, there's a relationship to, okay, you do this, we'll let this slide if you make sure you do X, Y, Z. But her whole persona changed after that, to where she became this whole big mascot for the Democratic Party in a sense, and as opposed to standing up for what was right. And it's offensive to me as a woman, and especially as a Black woman, to see our people being used that way. But, the Democratic Party talk about they're all pro women and pro Black women, but there are no Black female governors. We got a Black woman here in Georgia, Stacey Evans, that's running, and I think it's Evans. Is that her name? I'm sorry. I hope I didn't get that incorrect. And I should know that. I apologize. But who's running? But they're not all in bed trying to help her. We don't have a whole lot of Black women in powerful positions around the country. These are white women that are leading these positions. Donna Edwards out of Maryland, who ran for the Senate seat. The Democratic Party didn't support her. They destroyed her and pushed the white man, Chris Van Hollen. But I thought they were all pro-Black. And there was it was all about the women party. But Donna did not go along, or from what I understand, I don't know the whole case, with a lot of the stuff that they were saying. And she also had some conflicts with Maxine, which they labeled her as a problem child. From this is things that I've read in the news. And they've decided to go against her, even the CBC. So how does the CBC, an organization that was supposedly about electing Black leaders, new Black leaders, and supporting Black people, endorse a white man? They endorsed and supported Chris Van Hollen. So we have got to realize what's really happening, who is in charge. Corporate America owns both of these parties, including the CBC and all of these people that are involved, and they are not going to go against their people who feed them. So this is the problem. If we don't get this money out of the politics and these corporate entities from controlling these parties, even with the Democratic Party, I just don't see a change. And that's why I'm literally just done, because I don't know how you could change that. You have to work decades to get rid of what's there now. And it's just not worth it to me. I think it's time for a new party.
I agree with you on that. And that's why I support all parties, whether they be the People's Independent Party. I support the Draft Bernie Party, but only if they are committed to moving forward, regardless to what Bernie does. I don't think we can build a party just hinging on if Bernie's going to join. But the Green Party, Ajamu Baraka, that's my brother.
And, I like him.
And I had a person on last night, Tamborine Borelli, who's starting a new party called the Party for Us. So, hey, look, they get my support because I'm like you, Charlie. I don't believe that the Democratic Party will be the vehicle for change that we need it to be.
This don't see the redemption. This whole pity party, this who did it tour that Hillary's done, and then now the whole new, what Perez just did, that tells you that these people have no intentions of changing, and they have gotten away with for so long with spitting America's face and doing what they wanted to do, or their constituents' face. I won't say all of America, and getting away with it, and people standing by them, but they just figure that they can continue to do this. But the biggest problem is that we stood by, or the electorate who supported the Democratic establishment, and allowed them after this November election to not do a critical analysis of where they went wrong, to correct that, and to admit that. And instead, we let them go on this Trump-Russia conspiracy theory to cover up their own corruption and their own fraud. The primaries was horrible. I just saw last week where New York admitted that they purged over 200,000 voters. The Democratic Party, that is. Let's make that clear. And that has gone on across the country. The primaries were rigged. The superdelegates need to go. It's a lot of stuff within the party that has to change that I just don't see changing overnight. And if you're going to bring someone back in like Donna Brazile on an ethics committee, that tells you right there that they're slapping you in the face saying, we don't care what you think. We're party loyal. We're corporate lobbyist loyal, and we're going to do what we choose to do. Then you're going to get rid of Zogby. This guy's been around for a long time. Some trans person that was on the party. Excuse me for saying it that we don't mean it that way, in a negative way. Right. And others progressives who either supported Bernie or who supported Keith Ellis. So you don't have any intentions of trying to do the right thing. So I just don't see why people continue to harp on this. Let's change the party. There's nothing to change. They don't want to change. So let's exit the party and force them to realize what they've done and move on. Because I just don't see. There's no way. You've lost over 1,000 seats in the last 8 years under Obama.
Absolutely.
But you don't understand what you did wrong. And then you continue to do the same thing. You continue to get out to rally around the same people with the same, lies and stories that they're telling. It's just outrageous. And I think that you may have mentioned it or someone else mentioned it, but I made it clear on my interview on Sunday when you're talking about this whole $100,000 Russian ad buy thing. How is it that $100,000, which I think only, from what I understood, only a portion of that went towards stuff about Hillary Clinton? How is that something that could affect the election when they had $1 million worth of the trolls that they had already bought and paid for? The hypocrisy and it's mind-boggling, insulting stuff they say. It's just crazy to me. I don't understand why we can't wake up, or why some people are so dead set on being led and also just regurgitating bullshit. Excuse my French.
Look, I tell people, like, when you start getting locked into parties and you're not looking at the candidate and what they stand for and what their track record is, you'll end up hating what you support and supporting what you hate.
That's what I mentioned earlier. Absolutely.
That's what happens.
Anyway.
And look, like I said, if we are able to voice our opinions, like you and I, we gave them criticism. But that was because we looked at the Democratic Party as a possibility of being reformed.
Exactly.
That's why you criticize it. That's why we don't spend all day on Republicans. But
right. Exactly.
But now they've morphed it. They called us, Trump supporters, Russian bots. It's like they don't want our criticism. They don't want our help.
No, none of that. And it's like a child. I mean, you criticize your child, but you love your child. You want your child to grow up and be better. And I'm not saying Democratic Party is my child. I'm just using it as an analysis, a metaphor in a sense. Right. But they just don't want any change, and I don't understand that. I mean, I stood by Obama for oh my gosh, his first 4 years. I was a big fighter. Matter of fact, Trump had me blocked because of that, because I would literally go in on him for this birther thing. By the way, Hillary Clinton's campaign started that, so let's get that really clear. Mark Penn, that was part of their dossier. We want to talk about dossiers too, but they started the birther movement. Hillary and her Obama boys. They talk about Bernie Bros, but no one ever wants to talk about how racist and foul Hillary's campaign was, and the stuff that they used against Obama. One of their terms for him was Obama boys. So they love to use this gender thing. They use this. I mean, they have worn it out. It's just, as always, you don't like women. All her time, reclaim your time. Oh, persist. Let's do this. Till it's just, it's mind-boggling. I can't. You just want to shut down and say enough is enough. How much more of this can we take? Because you're not talking about anything. There's no substance in what you're saying. It's just saber rattling to rile up the crowd, but you're not doing anything. What about healthcare? Why aren't we talking about that? We talk about Trump, Russia all day long. Trump, Russia. Ain't nobody talking about helping these people out, or the poverty, the homeless, or what's going on in our communities, because it's Trump, Russia. And I had to tell family friends to listen. When has anybody in the White House affected you? Technically, on a day-to-day basis. You all said that when we were talking about Obama. They used to say all the time, "Leave Obama alone. What he does don't matter no way. It's what you do. It's your community, your people, that you vote on, at home, and yada yada." But now that it's Trump, it's a whole nother story. Oh, well, hell, it's the world that's came to an end because Trump's the president. And no accountability was ever held to Obama's administration. The media, I agree with what President Carter said. This is unprecedented. I think Trump is a joke. I really do. It's kind of it's insulting to his electric. I didn't vote for him. It's insulting to me. I think it's all funny. It does not offend me because that's who he is. And the white folk ought to all be ashamed. But as a black person, I'm not ashamed. He's tearing the onions and opening the doors and covers off of all them for them to see. That's their shame. I don't have to wear that. But for us, we should have fought more for what we wanted as a people when Obama was in office, when we had the opportunity. And now we're sitting here scrambling and trying to figure out why these folks walk around with tiki torches. Right. But you had an opportunity to push someone to give more and do more for you. But you didn't do it. You wanted to defend one man at the risk of millions of other black folks. Obama walked out of the White House doing fine now. His family is never going to have to want for anything. They got, he's on a $400,000 tour on Wall Street every time for speech. Every time he opens his mouth, $400,000. But y'all wanted to spend the last 8 years making sure, defending every time somebody said something bad about him. He was fine. He was going to be fine. But Wall Street didn't go to jail. No banker went to jail. Housing was one of the biggest entities of the things. Home buyership was the biggest thing that black folk had. And he chose not to go after these people and to help restore some of that. But he also put on his, I'm saying a lot of things I said on Twitter, on his cabinet was Penny Pritzker. I challenge you all to Google her. Penny Pritzker was the Chamber of Commerce secretary, but she also was behind the subprime mortgage banking fraud in Chicago that took a lot of black people's homes from her. She was also sued she's a Hyatt Hotel heiress, for not paying her people that work for her minimum wage. But these are people that was his finance people who funded him and supported him, and those are the people that he took care of.
Absolutely.
But the people in Chicago getting gunned down and shot, the Quan McDonald's or whatever, he still went and endorsed Rahm. That should have told you where he stood and where this party stood when it comes to us.
My thing with Obama was always, he can't even be questioned. He can't be questioned. If you question him, the first thing they say is, he's not the president of Black America, he's the president of all America.
Exactly.
The LGBTQ community don't listen to that. You can't tell them, we want our stuff done. That's what the LGBTQ stands for. It's like, look, get our issues done if you want our vote. Same thing with Latinos. Same thing with women as a block. At least that's how they should move. I don't know if they actually move that way. So that's what bothers me, is that we were so stripped of our voice. People like Cornel West, people like Tavis Smiley tried to address him. Ta-Nehisi, he got enamored. Yeah, he got enamored with Obama. You know, he's a young guy. I could see that happening. But what I would like to do is kind of get your take. I'm gonna throw out a couple topics and kind of go from there. I'd like to hear more about Jemele Hill. I know we've talked about this offline. What do you think about her coming out? She said, originally, you know what she said, Trump is a white supremacist. Then she said, we need to boycott the NFL if you want changes, boycott the advertisers, and that's how you get change. And then she got suspended. Then she came back. What do you think about her response that, well, hey, ESPN had a right to suspend me, I was wrong? What do you think about all that?
Oh, Black people are gonna really hate me. They already hate me. They're gonna really hate me now. Okay, Jemele Hill, I agree with everything she said about Trump. Not necessarily the racist part. I don't know what's in his heart. I can't say he's a racist or not. I don't know if he is or not. I think he's a rich white man that respects money, and anybody that's got it, black, white, blue, or green, that's what he's about. And I don't know whether that makes him a racist or not. I can't say. But Jemele Hill works for an organization, or company rather, that gets corporate funding from all these companies she was talking about boycotting. I think that she should have known better than what she said, when she's speaking her, on that platform. It's different if she had another account and it was not signed with the blue check and had the ESPN moniker and all this other stuff that she has on it. But I was a little disappointed in Jemele, and I've always kind of somewhat liked her. I don't really follow those shows. When she stood she was retweeting and clapping and climbing, all aboard this guy's article of something about black men are the new white men thing. And when she did that, I lost any kind of respect for her. One thing people can tell you on Twitter, I stand for my brothers. I feel like if anybody's being oppressed, it's the black male. And I have sons. I had a wonderful father and grandfather and stuff, uncles. I cannot ever be one of those voices that try to deride or degrade black men. I won't ever do that. So that was a problem for me. I thought that black people standing up for her and all this ranting and stuff they did, for her to come out and say that was really an insult. But Jemele is looking out for her pocketbook. And that's what people need to start looking and seeing. What's the difference in all this? They were chanting and ranting and raving about Jemele Hill not hopefully being suspended. But that same fight wasn't about Colin Kaepernick for not being employed. And he's the man that started all this. And he started all this because he was trying to fight for us. Jemele fighting for Jemele. Jemele said what she said because Jemele gonna keep that check coming. And that's a big difference. So for me, unless we recognize and understand, when to fight and what to fight, it's also like this Rose McGowan thing. Oh, that's protest Twitter. Well, you're protesting this rich white girl who has a voice, who actually did something wrong. She did put someone's phone number. She did dox someone on Twitter. That's against the rules. She should have been shut down, temporarily or whatever, because that was not appropriate. Why are you protesting that? But she got caught up in that when then Twitter realized Jack jumped in it really quick. Oh my God! Oh no! I messed up. I made the feminists mad, and they're gonna have a fit. Let me fix this. As opposed to saying she did something wrong. I understand what she says she's went through, the allegations about her being abused, raped, or whatever. I sympathize with her, but that does not give her justification to put people's personal information on the internet where the rules specifically say you can't do that. So she's on a 5-day suspension, 2-day suspension. When that's up, she can come back. But that wasn't done. So all of this, I'll do this for one person, I won't do this for the other, yada, yada thing, it's just not going to work. But back to the Jemele thing, I wish the sister well. She's a black woman. She's in a white male-dominated world. And I'm proud of what she's been able to do. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. The situation because she's came back twice and done that. Even with the whole thing when there was this big old banter about her saying the stuff, because I sympathize with the fact that all the alt-right came after her, and that's a problem for me.
Right.
I don't like what they said about her and the things they did. I stand with her on that. I truly do. That was not appropriate. But after all that was said, she comes back, oh, I apologize. I usually put ESPN in a bad light. I get that. She, it's for her job kind of thing. But then she goes and does do it again in another way. And this whole thing of, I guess it was about Jerry Jones, who is another butthole. And I understand why she's, I respect what she said or what she was trying to say. I agree with her on that. But she wasn't the right person to say it, technically. She wasn't in the right space to say that. She should have been off of her own account. I think she just needs 2 accounts. Be like Roger Stone, have 2 accounts. I don't know. I saw people asking about this. Well, how does he get 2 accounts? Well, he already had 2 accounts. So if one was for his book or something, and I guess the other was his personal account from what I've been able to read or gather.
I see exactly where you're coming from. I agree with you. This is why you got to own your own shit, right? Own your own business. Then, well, I'm speaking for my business and I speak for myself at the same time. But if you are working for an entity, I think
you have to. There's nothing you have to abide by their rules. And anytime your job is predicated on your mouth, and you're speaking and you're talking, in some format, whether you're a newscaster, anchor, sport, whatever it is in that realm, there are contracts that you sign that clearly I know states that there are only certain things you can and cannot do to offend the public, or don't mean to offend the company rather. Or it's like somebody said, one of these newspaper organizations said that some of their people that when you sign on, you cannot even have a Twitter account. Although I know that with ESPN and something like that, they probably need that to be able to be a voice like what she's trying to do. But it's just certain things you're not allowed to say. So that's just part of the business.
Okay, so let's move on to this. What do you think about, you said the Trump dossier? Do you have some opinions about how this came into being, how it was purchased, who paid for it, and the way it's been portrayed in the media?
Wow. I'm just confused at what Brian Fallon, Hillary Clinton, Podesta, and those people, what they really were thinking. They got in this whole back room after she lost and jumped up but even before that, they'd already put this thing in play. And then they tried to pretend that it was, they gave it to the FBI, whoever their cohorts were, and pretend like, it was just something that happened outside of them, and they used it as a tool or whatever. But I got a problem with the whole thing when you look at the fact that Hillary and them was on the Hill, and everybody knows that a lot of stuff they said were lies. They lied to the FBI. This guy, Papadopoulos, or whatever his name is, he's being charged for lying. If you're going to do it for one, you got to do it for all. And they're all involved in this. I think that Hillary and them started this whole dossier thing, but they didn't realize this can of worms. When they started, I think they thought Hillary was going to be in the White House. That's number one. So they were going to be able to go back and cover up all of their trails and their footprints. And that's what a lot of this problem has come into play, because these people had set all these things into motion with an easy walk for her to walk right into that door. And they were going to be able to go back and clean up all this stuff that they had laid out there. But that didn't happen that way. So somehow these brilliant, expensively paid, highly paid consultants they had forgot about the Electoral College in some aspect. And the fact that Hillary was allowed to party in the Hamptons or Martha's Vineyard or wherever it was, Martha's Vineyard, out in California, all these places, and ignore Wisconsin and Ohio, all these places, because she had it. She had the media already in place. They'd already paved the way for her. And people are it's amazing to me the dishonesty of some of the people on the Democratic Party who says, oh, the media was against Hillary. No, they weren't. They elevated Trump to help Hillary.
Right.
They made sure that he was a focal point of every conversation in order to get rid of every other opponent he had, so that she would have an easy walk into the White House. Every newspaper, every political pundit across the country had given her a 98% shot, or 99% to walk into the White House, all the way up until almost to the day the election. She was supposed to be that was it. We were all going in. I heard the mayor of Atlanta had bought a house in D.C. Everybody was moving to D.C. Everybody had it all just laid out. And this craziness, this man was able to walk into the White House, and then has upended everything that they had planned to do. So all these things, the dossier and stuff, we would have never known about that had she been president.
I think some of the anger and the bitterness that people have about Hillary Clinton losing the election. Now, I'm not talking about regular voters, regular individual citizens, but these inside people, like the Neera Tandons, Debbie Wasserman, these people are upset, not just because Hillary lost, but because they lost their opportunity.
Exactly. They had jobs promised to these people were getting ready to make a killing.
Right.
But and another thing too, like you speaking about making money, people ask why Trump's account's not shut down. I read in the Guardian the other day that Trump makes Twitter $2 billion a year.
Mm, mm, mm.
It is just him tweeting has made them over $2 billion. He's not going anywhere. This is all this is about, and that's why it works for them to have the alt-right clowning and the left clown upset and raising hell on the other side about their issues. That helps them with their marketing, with their strategy to continue to get revenue. So I mean, it's all just a joke. It's insulting.
Recently, Ben Carson, he was on the Hill, he was testifying, he was being questioned by Al Green, and he couldn't answer questions about the HUD budget. About I think it's like $6 billion worth of budget cuts to the HUD, to their budget, which is like 13% of their annual budget. And he wouldn't tell Al exactly what those cuts were. I've always had my criticism of Ben Carson. People told me, give Ben a chance. Give Ben a chance. Well, I gave him a chance. He failed.
Right.
There you go.
He failed. Yeah, I only saw a brief bit of that. I really didn't follow it. But I kind of fell out with him a while ago, though. I just felt like he was just not this hero that I used to worship. My kids, I have one son that's a med student, and I have twin boys, and one of them was is a med student or whatever. But I bought them a book, and when they were in high school, and it was the Gifted Hands by Ben Carson. I really loved that guy. His whole story, I was just enamored with him. And after he came out with his political beliefs and stuff, it kind of like morphed into, who is this guy? What is wrong? I don't have a problem with someone having a different belief system as mine when it comes to politics, but I can't understand how you can be born poor and then you try to oppress the same people the area that you came from. I don't get that. Everybody doesn't have the same opportunities. We all don't have the same, gifted hands to get us out of the hood. Absolutely. So you can't. It's just like Clarence Thomas. I mean, he grew up dirt poor, but he has this whole crazy, mentality about blackness, but that just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't understand. I also don't understand that when Black people become conservatives, it seems like the only way they can be a conservative if they bash poor Black people or Black people. I mean, is that the criteria to get in? I don't get that. Yes, I mean, it's one thing to say that my policy. Yeah, it's one thing to say that my policy is I less government and all this other stuff. I can respect that. That's what you believe. But it's a whole nother that people like this clown Cher Clark to get on and just try to dog Black people out. And this goes back to the Black Lives Matter. Let me say that really clear. With him, someone made a comment about that to me yesterday. Said someone with a sorrow of mine was all upset and offended that I don't like Black Lives Matter. Let me make that really clear to you. I don't like Black Lives Matter, the organization, because of what I feel they stand for. I don't like them because of what I feel their origin of their organization and the funding that they're now getting does not respect or reflect what I believe as a person, as a woman, and for my people. I don't think you got corporate entities that own and control them now. Some of the things that they've said that I've read that they stand for is not, it's truly not to me for Blacks as a collective. I have a problem that you can fight and get influence or fame off the deaths of Black men, but you get on social media and you dog out and drag Black men. So that's where I have a problem. For Black Lives Matter, the terminology and the term and what it means, I'm all for it. I'm all, pro-Black on everything when it comes to that. But the organization, I do have a problem with that. So that's.
I hope people got that clearly, that it's, of course, we support Black issues. We support standing up for Black citizens not being shot dead by police in the street. Of course we do. Sandra Bland, to Tamir Rice, Erica Garner is a good friend of mine. Eric Garner. Of course we do. Philando Castile. I mean, the list goes on and on. Walter Scott. But what we don't support is suspect funding of that organization and the mouthpieces that bash Black folks.
There you go.
Back to Ben Carson real quick. I'll say this. Ben Carson made one statement, Charlie, and this is it for me. This mofo said, poverty is a state of mind.
Wow. Well, let me tell you this. Well, he and Joy Reid should probably be on the same platform there, because she basically says the same thing. She denies that Black folks are even suffering, from poverty. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, so I mean that you cannot be any more mentally disturbed or just outrageous to say something like that. Statistics, community. You can ride around. I don't live in the hood. I love my people. I live in John Ossoff's district, with the 6th in Georgia. I live in Buckhead, so I don't have But my friend, I have friends and family people that live in the hood or whatever. I know the struggles they're dealing with. I know what it's like. I'm a Black person. Anyone's success, even whether as a Black person, that doesn't mean that we got to turn our backs and ignore the issues that are happening in our community. You cannot do that because it's alive, it's real, it's everywhere. When you look at places like Baltimore, that community, that city, I use it a lot when I talk, and Ferguson. These cities, especially Baltimore, has been run by Democrats for decades. Even the state until recently was a Democrat. But look at our people. Ask yourself why. You cannot blame that on Republicans. Ask yourself, why are Black folks suffering so badly in Baltimore? But you got Elijah Cummings living large. He's doing well. He's been doing well for the 20 years he's been in office. Everything is gravy for these people. And white liberals. And then you have a prison, $100 million detention center being built in Baltimore for Black kids. I mean, this was done over the last several years, and it just opened recently. But you want to know why? But you want to blame everybody else. You want to tear down statues that mean nothing, and they give you, and you can best believe that's all you're going to get out of the Democratic Party right now. You're going to get that statue, but you're not getting anything substance.
Yeah,
where's
symbolic gestures?
Yeah, where's the substantive things that you're going to get from them? Everything in just about every key player in Ferguson was a Democrat. From the DA on down was a Democrat, or on up rather, or down, excuse me. So we're Democrats. So when are you going to realize and hold these people accountable and stop being a doormat for them for a vote? Don't get so upset and offended. And I see people on there just enraged. Oh, the white people, they'll hate us. Oh, they're all right. They hate us. They're racist. You know what? Your boss is probably a racist. Your neighbor's probably racist. You live with them every day. It's life. Get over it. I'm not so emotionally attached to racism that I can't see when I'm being screwed.
But see, Charlie, I look at it like, when I see it, I try to imagine. I try to look at it from the lens of, these people are being lied to on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. They play with our emotions on purpose. Mm-hmm. And not everyone, has a Charlie Peach. And that's why you're not on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Because they don't want someone like a Charlie Peach telling people, waking people up to the BS. So these people are, they're being played like a guitar.
It's sad. And it hurts me to see my people like that. Yeah. I just can't, I just don't. We're the only group of people. We are literally the only group of people that vote strictly one party 99% of the time. Everybody else they split their votes. Yeah. You got both parties fighting to try to get both these groups, but nobody's fighting for us. Democratic Party doesn't care. They don't need us. They only need us when it's time to vote. That's why Hillary wasn't at the Women's Convention this weekend, just because she was not going to be in a platform or area around someone like Anita Turner that they despise. So that was not going to happen anyway. So I already knew that. So,
yeah.
But if it had been during a primary or the general or some election time frame, they'd have been all there front and center. But go ahead, I'm sorry. Where was Kamala Harris? Was she there?
You can't talk about Kamala Harris. Don't you talk about our sister. Yeah. You are selling out now, Charlie. Yeah. You talk about our sister. And I think when I exposed her niece with selling Maya Angelou's shirts, I mean, that might have been a part of the problem too. I mean, how are you going to pay? You're online selling $35 shirts about that was Maya Angelou's quote. What was it? Phenomenal woman.
Phenomenal woman. And all the proceeds going to white women's organization, except for one Black woman out in California. But she was backed by Soros or someone. Her organization was, and that's something you see online. She has it on her website. Who funds her? So all this money is going to all these white women's groups. And I tell people something else too, and I'm going to say this. The Planned Parenthood is for the Democratic Party is the NRA, just like the NRA for the GOP. And if we don't wake up and realize what this stuff is about and what these people are about and how they have devastated our communities, then we're going to continue to be messed around. We're going to continue to be lost. We lost the whole 8 years of being able to do some things. We're at a preface where we only got a small window now, a small amount of time to make some changes for ourselves. Right. We need to wake up. Planned Parenthood is not our friend. You can be pro-choice and not support this organization. These people are owned, they're controlled, they're filth. I mean, it's just, they have become complete bullies to where they monopolize everything that goes on in the Democratic Party. The same way with the NRA, it's no different. Both of them are killing people. So you think, I mean,
Wow.
when you want to look at it like that, I made a tweet once before. I said, it's amazing that the Democratic Party will fight for someone like Planned Parenthood to take lives, but they won't fight to save our lives. They won't fight in the communities to save young boys and girls. They've been using, Puerto Rico's been using a new punching bag now. But Flint, Michigan is still poison. But they made a movie. They can go make a movie about Flint, Michigan. Why not take that money that you're making movies for and go in there and make sure these people have water?
What do you think about Paul Manafort and the indictment that was handed down by Robert Mueller yesterday?
I think all of these folks need to go to jail. Both sides of the aisle. I think the Paul Manafort thing, I think, was a stretch on Mueller's part, if you will, in the sense that it was a broad reach because of the fact that it was initially supposed to be about Trump. And then it went into this tax evasion or not registering as a foreign entity, whatever, all these things they were saying about him. But it's the same thing the Podestas were doing. It's, and people can continue to lie and pretend like that's not a problem, that Hillary Clinton was part of that Uranium One deal and got $145 million from Russia if they want to. That right there alone should have that woman and her family under the penitentiary. I'm serious. It just does not make any sense. How can you sell 20%? And again, she was part of a panel of people or group organizations that had to sign off on that deal as Secretary of State, and she did. And then her husband does a $400,000 speech in Russia. Then the next thing you know, they're getting $145 million. How do you get that kind of money from someone who you claim is a threat to America, an enemy to America, and people keep trying to brush it off as nothing? It doesn't make sense to me. These things don't make sense to me. I mean, it's like pissing on you, someone doing that and telling you it's raining. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Joy Reid was on her show this weekend, defending that to the hilt. Defending it's actually $500,000 is what Bill Clinton got, and yes, you better add that extra $100,000.
Exactly.
They're struggling over there. They need the money so badly.
Right.
They need to go speak in Russia. Like it to me. It's just the arrogance of the Democrats, the arrogance of the Clintons, that you would even put yourself in that position.
Exactly.
And
that's the whole thing. Everything about them is arrogance. The DNC, the Democratic Party, the Clintons, all is just complete arrogance in your face. We'll do what we want to do. We don't have to respect the law. We own the law, basically. We are the law, whatever the storylines is for them. So the Manafort thing, I think, was, if he did these things, he needs to go to jail. But so do a whole lot of other folks. We sat there and we watched how Hillary did her supposed testimony, and she lied when she testified. She lied to the FBI. It came out. So if you're going to arrest that boy Papadopoulos, whoever he is, for lying, that little small fish, then where the big fish at? Because that's what he is. He's a small fish. So when you're going to take down the big fish?
Exactly. I thank you so much for taking this time. I would like to sort of wrap up with this. We kind of touched on it. Colin Kaepernick, the NFL boycott. I don't know if you've watched football. Have you boycotted the NFL on this? And how do you feel about players now who are now standing for the anthem, the Dallas Cowboys specifically, who when taking the knee, and now it seems like they're kind of giving in to Jerry Jones's demands. What do you think about that?
Cowards. I support. I initially had said, and one of my good friends, Reggie Williams, I'm going to shout out to him on Twitter. I love that guy. We were having a debate initially about boycotting the NFL, and we kind of disagreed, but he had his reasons to say it because he works within the NFL. So I understood some of the things he was saying too. And unlike Jemele Hill, he knew what he could and couldn't say. I should say that. Let me stop. But anywho, I totally disagree with this. I think it's insulting. It's almost like you want to be a slave. You want to sit there and let these people disrespect you, and you're going to stand up and But I had said early on, I tweeted, boycott the NFL. Oh, no, I'm not watching. I tell my friends, I'm like, are you watching the NFL? You watching the game? Aren't you supposed to be boycotting it? So I don't spend my Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays watching football. I don't, before I wasn't necessarily doing it all the time anyway, but I would from time to time, go to hang out with some friends or watch it with some friends. But I won't be doing that. And I think it's just, we don't have the same what's the brothers that stood at the Olympics with their fists in the air, or the Muhammad Ali's, and it's really sad that they, even with LeBron, I respect everything this brother. I respect not everything. I respect a lot of things he's done, and there are some things that I think he probably could work on too. But he does a lot for kids and stuff, so I can't take that away from him and the needy. But a lot of these people didn't jump on the bandwagon until it was kind of late, until Trump said something, and that's what my problem is. None of these things seem to be a problem until it's about Trump. And then, now it's a problem. Even with the thing with the congresswoman out of Florida and the Trump and all of that stuff. And I'm digressing because I know we gotta roll up. But you say you can't talk about Gold families, but you can attack Kelly. Isn't he a Gold family member? With the Democrat, they have drug him through the mud. But he's supposed to be a Gold father. You can't if you can't attack Gold family members, you can't attack him either. And this woman, I think, has exploited. In my opinion, now Kelly may have been wrong or is wrong. I don't know. I didn't see the whole story about him. I want what he said about her or to her. But she's exploited this situation too, and she's made this about the Trumps and all this, as opposed to about dead family members and soldiers. A guy that the David Johnson that died or whatever. No, his name was not even in the whole scenario for a long time. It should have been about him and the other people who died. And let's talk about Niger real quickly. Look up why we were in Niger. They want to talk about, how do we get over there? Obama sent troops over there. And then even before that, guess why they're over there now? They're building $500 million or $1 billion drone facility in Niger. So the United States is doing this. People need to read. But Rachel Maddow said something else, but I'll let that go at that. We'll have to have another time, hopefully, to talk some more.
I'm going to hold you to that, too, sis.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you to it. Look, Charlie, man, this has been a long time coming. I wanted you on this show a year ago.
You did.
I'm glad you finally made it. And we definitely have a lot of support and love for you. Your voice is solely needed. We need to go to a library, create you another account, get you back out there, because we really miss you, Charlie. I'm being serious, man. People write me like, can you talk to Charlie? Well, you need to talk to Charlie and get her back on Twitter. So it's not just for me, it's for everybody else, man, who just misses your spirit and your words of encouragement.
Well, thank you so much. And in all seriousness, I think, today, we have Twitter and Facebook are on the Hill. There needs to be some things that people need to really rally together to talk about and to tweet about why people are being silenced this way and how it's being arbitrarily done to certain people that don't stand on either side of the aisle and support these, different entities or whatever, or people who are on one side of the aisle being sanctioned more than the other, however it works. But for me, I said before in my other interview, it's really bigger than me. It's about free speech. I really am looking at other avenues as to whether or not how to sue Twitter, what to do, because I think it's personal at this point, especially with the @politicspeech_, where this person is impersonating me and they are refusing to take it down. And the fact that I know that Jack has had an issue with me because I'm not a friend, follower, supporter, or care nothing about DeRay McKeeson, who he is truly in bed with, and friend, follower, friend, whatever their relationship is. So, and I'm vocal about that, and I have no qualm saying it, and I'll stand on it. So I know some of this stuff is personal, and I plan to do whatever I can. I know they're going to come at me as a bigger entity than I'm like David and Goliath for real.
Right.
But I'm going to make sure that I've never been one of those people that let people walk over me. I just can't do it. But anyway, thanks so much. I love everybody, all my friends on Twitter. I see you. I see all the love that I've been getting, and I truly appreciate it. And it's heartwarming. It really is.
Where can people go to stay in contact with you? Do you have a Medium account now?
I do. It's Charlie Peach. I've had it for a minute, so it's at Charlie Peach. So I'll be writing there from time to time. So I hope you guys follow me.
That's what it is. Thank you once again, sister.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the show. I appreciate you. I see you at 9 p.m. tonight, where my guest will be Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk. I'll catch you. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Tim Black.
Great show.
Tim Black.
You're a natural, man.
Tim Black.
Really? Stop it.
You need to do the Charlie show.